today and did review a mitigation memorandum in this file presented by the defense, as well as some documentary evidence attached to that confirming his proposed residence and certificate of some course completions while he's been in the jail. Mr. Knight, with that, anything you want to say on behalf of your client?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Wardell comes before the court at 42 years of age. He does have some criminal history. Got 7 prior misdemeanors, 1 prior felony. That 1 prior felony is, it does have a victim attached to it, is wholly unlike what he's got going on in these 2 cases here. And so, of course, the court's going to consider that he does have a prior felony, but I hope the court doesn't consider that to be similar conduct going forward for today's hearing. Judge, he did take a plea agreement here in this matter. He pled guilty, as the court's already outlined. He does have a sentencing agreement, if any incarceration is ordered, that it shall not exceed 36 months. What I would say, in addition to and on behalf of Mr. Wardell, is that he's employable. He likes to work. He likes to stay busy. I think he's got one of those personalities where it's important for him to stay busy. I think that phrase about idle hands, blah, 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 that's kind of Mr. Wardell's bag too. He needs to stay busy, and he understands that. He's already got a job lined up if the court were to decide to release him at any point in the near future. He does have significant credit time. I don't know if the court would remember, but Dr. Libby actually was Mr. Wardell's original attorney after there were some issues with that. I took him over and did this mitigation memo on his behalf with Ms. Vance, who I think worked really hard to put this together. Just so the court's aware, this is I think the second draft essentially of this memo. When I presented it to the prosecutor at first read, I think there was an interpretation that we're trying to cast blame on the victim here, and that's certainly not our intention. That is not the name of the game, and I hope that the court didn't take. I
didn't read that in the sentence. No,
okay, great. And this is sort of a little bit of a revised draft. So, in fairness to Ms. Goodrich, this wasn't the original one that she read, but it's very similar. So I just don't want the court to take that away, and it sounds like the court did not. I think that Mr. Wardell has done a ton of work on himself as he's been sitting in the jail. We provided numerous certificates on his behalf, graphic design fundamentals, conflict resolution, coping skills, self-regulation, anger management. I mean, these are certificates that I think actually do help him going forward, right? And I think that his time in the jail has not been for naught. He's been trying to stay busy, trying to improve himself, and has really reflected on what led him to this situation. Like some other folks that we've talked about already this morning, Mr. Wardell, had he been taking care of his mental health and substance abuse issues long in advance of this, probably is not sitting here today, or if he is, it's on way less serious charges. Maybe he's down in the district court or something, but he had a period of lawful behavior, was working very, very hard, had some really unfortunate issues happen with his mother where she ended up passing away. And that survivor's guilt, I think, has led him down this sort of really terrible path where, he just did not think that he was worth it to take care of himself anymore. And that's so terrible as a human being to be there. I think that he knows now that he is worth it. No matter what happens today, he is worth it. And he has to take care of himself. He still lives with this survivor's guilt. And I couldn't imagine, having to put my mother in a home and then seeing her pass away just shortly thereafter, knowing that had I been able to take care of her myself, that maybe that situation is different. I mean, that's just got to be an enormous amount of guilt that he's going to continue to live with for the rest of his life. But he needs to learn, and I think has learned, that he's got to take care of himself in order to take care of others. And so he's absolutely more than willing to do anything the court orders him to do today. He certainly wants to get back into his regular mental health treatment. He's seen quite a few providers in the area over the course of, 10 or 15 years, I think, at this point. I think we had to put in probably 5 or 6 different ROIs to get all of his medical records and all his psychiatric records for what he's done just in the community. And I'll extend out to, I think, Emmett, because he did some, I think, treatment out in Emmett County too, if I remember correctly. So, Judge, he does have a good place to live. The court was going to release him. He's got a good place to start working. I actually talked to another person this morning as well who said, yep, he can come work with me. He's a hard-working man that does his best to take care of his family. I wish that we could go back in time and have him, get a ride from the police officer and not have him go to that house. And this is not like a shoulda, coulda, I wish the cops did better, right? That's not what I'm saying either. But something happened where he should not have been in that house, and there was transportation arranged for him, and he didn't end up going there. I think the PSI indicates that he maybe tried to avoid that transportation, but that's not, in my conversations with him, anything that actually occurred. And I don't think that's outlined in the police report either. It just seems like something happened and someone dropped the ball. I don't know who it is. I'm not here to cast blame, but I just wish that he would have not gone to that house. And so, Judge, Ms. Franca, I think, has some dealings with this court. Otherwise, although Mr. Wardell pled to this aggravated stalking, I think that Ms. Franca has continued to put money on his books. I think if the no contact order had been lifted, that she would have had contact with him as well, and that she did, at least at some point, filed to lift the PPO, although I don't think that was ever granted. Judge, in my workings with Mr. Wardell, he's, I think, come a long way in terms of realizing what led him here and realizing what he needs to do to never be here again. And so I hope that the court can see that as well through both allocution and through the mitigation memo. I think that Mr. Wardell understands that, he is accountable for his own actions regardless of what's going on in his life, and promises to do better going forward. And I think that's all he can do at this point, Judge. So we're asking the court again to keep him in the county. What that looks like, I don't know. I know the court's going to treat that second case as, I think, mandatory consecutive, but nonetheless, we're asking him to stay in the county so that he can start his probation sentence potentially a little bit earlier, get back to that treatment that he so desperately needs, and can start his gainful employment in Gaylord upon release. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mankia. Mr. Wardell, you don't have to say anything today, but you may. Is there anything you want to tell me or no?
Yes, Mr. Do I stand up?
Sure,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, what I lack is coping skills more than anything. I had in the back of my head that if I called enough, that if I, got through and I was able to talk to her, that, her and I would be able to work things out. Things would have been different. And my poor choices and bad decisions that led me to this point, I'm truly sorry for them. The amount of time that I've spent behind bars so far has really allowed me to reflect on exactly what it was that I was doing out there. It let me know where my true struggles were. And I want the courts to know that, no matter what, I'm sorry. I understand that there's a punishment coming. I understand that, I've done something wrong. And just that, I'm sorry for my actions. I wish I could go back and change it, but all I can do is learn from it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Goodrich, recommendations from the people.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. We are here because on August 29th of 2024, defendant was released from the hospital and said he was going to the police department. Instead, he went straight to the victim's house where PPO was in place. During that time there, he assaulted and strangled the victim's friend that was present there with his own wife, trying to help the victim. Defendant then resisted the officers that arrived on scene. Defendant then resisted the jail staff during the booking process. And while incarcerated with the no contact order, he then, over a few days, made 104 calls to the victim. The defendant is 42 years old. He was 15 at the time of his first arrest. He has 1 prior felony, 7 prior misdemeanors. The plea agreement was that any incarceration would not exceed 36 months. The defendant is self-employed with a vocational certification. He admitted to substance abuse issues involving daily methamphetamine use, daily marijuana use, and daily alcohol use. This combined with his mental health issues, it is an issue. He's been put on probation 3 prior times. He's been in jail 1 prior time. He served a 2-year prison sentence prior. His guidelines are 14 to 29 months. The recommendation is for 24 months and 12 years. I would ask that the 24 months and the 12 months run consecutive with the RNO for a total of 36 months, which would be consistent with the plea agreement. Thank you.
All right, in this case, Mr. Wardell is 42 years of age. He has 1 prior felony. It was not a domestic assault, or it was a different case entirely. 7 prior misdemeanors. He has a juvenile history. In this case, on the day of his release from a mental hospital, he violated a PPO and did so assaulting a friend of the petitioner in the PPO. He was assaulted when he arrived in the jail and was resistant with officers while he was in the jail. As he acknowledged today, he made several attempts to contact the victim and the petitioner, the PPO, and that's the aggravated stalking in that case. These are serious crimes, and the guidelines reflect that, and the plea agreement reflects that. There are some mitigating factors here, principally that this did occur on the day of his release from a mental institution. There's a mental health component to what was happening here. The pre-sentence report and the mitigation memo outlines that history. And I think another distinguishing factor in this case is that Mr. Wardell does not have an extensive assaultive history, in contrast to another case that was sentenced here this morning that received a prison commitment. We have a couple pending contempts. I'll dismiss those contempts. He's served more than 93 days on those anyway. All right, and taking all these things into account, Mr. Wardell has been in the county jail for more than 15 months at this point. So he's served a significant amount of time while he's been in pretrial detention. There's been some changes of counsel during that time, and so there's an explanation for some of that delay, but he's been locked up for a significant time already. Taking all these things into account, in file 6925, there is a crime victims assessment of $130, court costs of $350, and state cost of $272. And I'm going to order Mr. Wardell serve 12 months in the Sheboygan County Jail with credit for 12 months previously served. That is a sentence that's a slight departure from the advisory guidelines. It is to facilitate then a probationary sentence with consecutive sentencing in the second case. So that's the sentence in 6925, essentially fines and costs and time served, which has been a year. In the second case, the aggravated stalking that was committed while in the jail, I believe that is a mandatory consecutive. To the extent that I'm wrong about the statute, I believe it is also discretionary consecutive, which I would apply, given that while he's incarcerated for violating a PPO, he continues to violate it. And in that case, I will place Mr. Wardell on a probationary term for 24 months. And Agent Martin, if you can direct that would be, I guess, the standard terms of probation. That would also include substance abuse assessment and treatment, and comply with and obtain a psychological assessment and comply with any treatment recommendations. In that file, there's $130 in a crime victims assessment, $68 in state cost. There will be a monthly supervision fee to the Department of Corrections. You are not eligible for early discharge for probation because it was a crime involving domestic violence. And I'm going to, in that file, order that Mr. Wardell serve 12 months in the Sheboygan County Jail, give him credit for 95 days previously served. I'm not giving full credit because it's consecutive, so I'm giving him the leftover credit that I didn't give in the first case. And this is consecutive to file 24-6925. That again is a slight downward departure from the advisory guidelines. That's the reason for that is to facilitate probationary sentence, along with now he's receiving a total of 2 years. So it's not really in that aspect, it's not really a departure, but it technically is a departure. And it is within the cap of the sentence. That's the sentence of the court, Mr. Wardell. Within 24 hours of your release from the Sheboygan County Jail a few months from now, you'll have to contact the probation department. And also, also one of the terms of probation would be no contact with Ms. Franca. And yes, you have a question, Mr. Wardell?
Yes, sir. While incarcerated here, is there any chance I could take that CBT programming?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be eligible for that or not. The jail will have to determine that. I'll indicate in the judgment of sentence in 6927 that Mr. Wardell may participate in the CBT program in the jail if he's eligible.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wardell, if you want to appeal from these sentences or your convictions, you can file an application to the Court of Appeals. If you want a lawyer, you'd have to ask me within 6 months. We're going to hand you 2 sets of paperwork, one for each file, explaining these appeal rights. Ask you to initial 1 copy for us, the other one if you to fill out if you want to take an appeal.
What do you think about the case? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it.